right, and welcome once again. All Takes Valid, episode 42. As always, I go by Trill Trayy, joined once again with Spence or SP21 and Vick. So, Vick, why don't you go ahead and give me a rundown for today's episode?
All right, so for today's episode, as we've been talking about, we are doing um, basically our mocks of not just the draft, but um, teams that are getting ready to try to make some moves to become relevant, whether it's contenders or just getting in the right direction. But first things first, we're going to talk about J.J. Watt. He just signed with the Arizona Cardinals, which, last week we talked about it. And we had a list of teams that he was supposed to, or at least the teams that we thought he was going to go to. And it turns out he he got
The
everybody
cards?
a little early for April Fools, but he definitely got us with that. So Arizona, him and D Hop, united, and I think it's a good thing. But we'll get more into that. The next topic after that, we will talk about the state of the Miami Dolphins, things that we believe that the Miami Dolphins will need to do in the draft, this upcoming free agency, and then to cap off with our show today, we will talk about the state of the Atlanta Falcons. Same thing of what they need to do for this draft, this upcoming free agency, and what they can do to possibly become relevant again in the NFC South. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and kick it off with J.J. Watt to the Arizona Cardinals. Fellas, what do y'all think about this move? And does this make the Arizona Cardinals a playoff team? We'll start it off with Trey.
All right.
Right.
So, very shocking to say the least. Not a team I even would have considered. I mean, he's one of those players where it's like when they're available, all 31 teams should take a look at it, depending on the situation, obviously. But it's a name and he's a person. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer, right? So, but the Cardinals, does it make them a playoff team? And I think to answer that specific question, the answer would be yes. You got to remember they were a game out of the playoffs, which Kyler Murray got hurt and they ended up losing to the Rams. Was that
Right.
week 17? And
Yep.
therefore, the Bears, even though they lost also week 17, they had the tiebreaker. So the Bears got to go to playoffs. So
Right.
that being said, they were a game out of the playoffs this year. So now that's comparing to the NFC last year, though. So you got to factor in that there are some certain teams that probably are going to do better than what they did last year in the NFC. The 49ers in their own division, for example, they were banged up a lot of the season. So you can look
Right.
at that and you can argue and say the Cardinals are the worst team in their division. But like I said, with that particular division, they all kind of beat up on each other. Adding J.J. Watt definitely does help somewhat. Now, as far as Super Bowl aspirations, I don't think this is necessarily J.J. Watt chasing a ring, because I don't think within this 2 year window the Cardinals are going to be contending for a Super Bowl anytime soon. Not necessarily. But playoffs, I can see them make the playoffs is like the seventh seed in the NFC, definitely, which is, I guess, no different than what he would have been doing if he stayed in Houston and he's still getting the bag, as they say. So, I mean, I get it. I know a couple people were upset because they thought he was chasing the ring, but never once did it come out of his mouth did you hear J.J. Watt say that he was chasing the ring. That's just what everybody assumed that he was doing at this point of his career. Because he's one of those players to me that, regardless, well, I guess it depends on how these next two seasons go, right? But I think he could still get another. He probably go down to like 1 year deals after this Cardinals deal's over. It's 2 years. I could see him
Mhm.
then start chasing the ring, like play a couple of, I won't say meaningless seasons, but a couple seasons where he's basically just taking maybe a vet minimum, getting paid off of his name, just because he's JJ Watt, and go to an actual contender then. But I think this was him just he chose the bag over a Super Bowl. And I mean, like I said, there's been a lot of talk about that, saying, he's done. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? But let's take let's take two teams who were in the Super Bowl, for example. Let's say he went to the Bucks or the Chiefs, right? They were the
Mhm.
two teams that were in the Super Bowl. Going to either one of those teams does not guarantee that he would win the Super Bowl. You know what is guaranteed though? That 23 million that he just got. That's guaranteed no matter what happens. So that you can't beat that. Because everybody thought the Chiefs were bound to just repeat the Super Bowl. Now, granted, they made it back to the Super Bowl, but you saw what happened. So no team that he would have went to that is a contender, there's not a guarantee that he's going to win a championship. And he would have made significantly less money in going to one of those teams. So
Mhm.
I'm not mad at it. 23 mil guaranteed, 2 years for 31. Hey, and he's back with his boy D Hop. We got a young quarterback. If they can fix the O line, they might can. I can see the 7th seed in the NFC. They're my sleeper team last year in the NFC. They just barely, like I said, by a game disappointed me in making the playoffs, but they they improved a lot from Kyler's year 1 to year 2. So if Kyler improves his game, they can improve the O line around him. I think they can make strides again. I'd say they can potentially win 8 to 9 games, which again, that'd probably be enough to get you to at least the 7th seed in the NFC.
All right. So first things first. Last year, as we all know, everybody that's been following the channel, um, Arizona was one of my three teams that I predicted to go into the playoffs. Arizona came up short late in the year. Uh, they started off good. They were still trending upwards in the middle of the season, and then they just fell off at the end. Obviously, Kyler Murray, his injury to his shoulder was affecting him. Um, um, nobody first things first. Nobody expected the Cardinals to be as competitive, especially having the record that they finished off with, which is 8-8.
Except for
Um,
Trey.
did, yeah. So, I mean, they did a fairly good job. Now, one thing that we all know about from what we've seen from last year with the Arizona Cardinals, um, pass rush was definitely something that they lacked. Hassan Reddick, which is a pending free agent right at the moment, unless the Cardinals somehow makes a move. Now, um, with that being said, the Cardinals did not have a lot of cap space available before signing JJ Watt. So I believe they're probably a little bit north of 2 mil, close to three, if I remember correctly. Um, so there may be some cap casualties. I know I've seen a report talking about Chandler Jones. I don't think that's going to be something that the Arizona Cardinals are going to do. I think they
Yeah, I
may
think you want to put
restructure.
them together. I
Yeah,
think that was of that.
they may want to restructure his contract if he's willing. If not, there may be some other cap casualties.
I could see
Uh,
Patrick Peterson potentially being one of those. Not to interrupt
uh,
you, but
yeah, he is actually well, based off the free agent list that I saw, he's a pending free agent this year. Um, there is like an offensive guard that they have, Justin Pugh, I believe his name is.
mm-hmm.
He could be somebody that could be cut. I've seen quite a few other names as well. some that I'm not too familiar with. But either way, if they, I mean, again, to me, I think this move makes them a playoff team. I thought highly of them last year, especially with Kyler Murray, what he was able to do despite the offensive line that he had. I and defensively, obviously, just Isaiah Simmons, he started showing up late, so watch out for his name this upcoming year. He was a top 5 pick, um, so just keep that in mind. Him and Chandler Jones, I believe they're gonna, make some noise in NFC West. Poor Russell Wilson, because man's already been talking about getting traded, and the more I think about it, the more I just start to come to the realization. As much as I hate to say this, it would probably actually make a lot of sense if the Cowboys make a run for uh, Russell Wilson, if Dak Prescott is willing to do a sign and trade. But I don't
right.
think Dak is willing to help out the Cowboys by any means. So again, just going to the Cardinals, I am ecstatic about this. Kyler Murray is one of my young, up and coming favorite quarterbacks, and the Arizona Cardinals are, pretty much one of the teams that I follow. So great move by the Arizona Cardinals. Yes, this makes them a playoff team, and I believe that the Arizona Cardinals, I'm gonna say they'll be second in the division. Rams, I believe they're the clear favorite. 49ers, they're iffy, but the only reason why I have uncertainty about the 49ers is just mainly because of the quarterback situation that they have over there. Um, Unless if they make a strong push, like out of nowhere, like how JJ Watt once said um, about doing DoorDash. Sometimes it takes him a couple hours to figure out what he wants, and he clearly got us. He blindsided us with this because he decided, he was thinking about going to Pizza Hut, and then he decided to go ahead and get some Olive Garden or something. It just he really just caught us off guard with that. So, with that being said, Spence.
The Cards, I guess. Everybody had Bills, Green Bay. Come home.
Pittsburgh.
Steelers. Playing for his brothers. We had all these scenarios that made sense, but we didn't like. Oh, maybe he wanted to play with his old teammate again. Okay, I guess. Weird, but okay, fine. The GM for the Cardinals. Oh man. I know he's having a hell of a summer. I got him for free, and I got him for nothing. Now with this, I would say they'll be a playoff contending team, but they have to try to keep all the defense. Patrick Peterson, his contract is coming up. Will he sign like a hometown discount with that? Not him, but Reddick. Reddick had an amazing year with more sacks than Chandler Jones. So, and we have to hold.
Chandler Jones was injured.
Right. Well, he was injured during that time period. But that's another thing. Man, if this works, man, are we going to get Chandler Jones the whole season too? Or he's going to be out again? And heck, what if JJ is out again? So now you got 2-star linemen out. So that's kind of a risk with that. Sure, with risk comes reward, but there's also some downplays if it actually happens that way. Now with this, does that make them still a playoff potential team? Yeah. I think the NFC. I think we all agree that the NFC West is probably one of the strongest division in that conference, and with this, it's just got a lot stronger.
Yeah. Probably in the whole league, honestly. The only division that, like record wise, I've seen that rivals them would be
Right.
their division in the North. which we had three teams make the playoffs in the AFC North.
Right.
But yeah, I'd say, but yeah, hands down, I'd say the NFC West is better because I think their bottom team, which was the 49ers, is clearly better than our bottom team, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't think it's close.
Well, depending on what the Bengals do this offseason, they can definitely shake some things up and make it a lot closer. But I mean, we'll get to that at a later point.
Yeah.
So yeah. With that being said, um, anybody have any other things that they want to add to this, or ready to move on to the next topic?
So I just want to tell JD that's messed up. You had TJ shovel your driveway.
I forgot all about that.
Trying to convince.
I was like, yeah, man, come on, I'll shovel your whole driveway. Found out, like, nah, look, bro, you good. Thanks,
if it was about the bad, we definitely wasn't paying them that type of money in Pittsburgh. So hey, go get it, brother, because we ain't have that for you.
Yeah, and with this move that happened, Vic, when we get to yours, not the Ravens, the one that's recently won a championship, that's a lot of conversation to say that, because all I'm saying is this: if they paid him that much money and he was out most of the season,
well, yeah, he's not JJ Watt of old. So yeah, if he got 2 years, 31 million, Shaq Barrett is gonna really break the bank.
I see Shaq Barrett getting at least 21, maybe 22 at the minimum. So, like I've said before in the previous episode, I definitely see the Bucks re-signing Shaq Barrett, but Chris Godwin, I don't see that happening, to be honest. Not even with the franchise tag.
I think it's the opposite.
I'm going to say that's the opposite. I feel like Chris Godwin will take the cut.
Well, I mean, we've heard on recent radio shows where Chris Godwin said that he wouldn't be mad if he gets put on a franchise tag. He'd be more than happy to come back to Tampa. He loves Tampa. That's what he said. Now, we all know that Shaq Barrett last season, he was on the franchise tag. Now, they could opt to do a franchise tag one more time, but, I haven't heard anything in reports about how Shaq Barrett would feel about it. I do know that he wants to be here in Tampa, but, this is what all players say, to be real. Like, all players say that they want to stay here. Unless if you're Deshaun Watson, that's a different story. But
then I don't want to stay here.
Well, that too, because Dak made it clear that he didn't want to be there.
Oh yeah, Dak.
Yeah, Dak too.
And that whole Dak thing, I think is just so much back and forth. I mean, even Russell Wilson, as of late, I just those two players, they definitely don't want to be there. I feel like Dak is just, I guess, playing with the Cowboys' emotion. Obviously, he owns all the cards, but back to the topic. Yeah, Shaq Barrett. I don't think he'd be mad. Of course, he'll be disappointed if he gets franchise tagged again, but it would be for a little bit less. It'd be like 18.5 mil compared to possibly 22, whatever. And I think logically, if in the long haul, if that's something that the Bucks want to do, it probably makes sense, especially if I was, and I have to sit down and talk with Shaq and be like, look, we're getting ready to do this new CBA deal. And next year the cap will be so much higher. We'll definitely be able to work something out type of deal, just to kind of give them some kind of guarantee. But the downside of that is this: every player, and I'm down for all the players to get paid, but every player knows the reality of injuries, because you can have 2 great years and then just like Bud Dupree, he tears his Achilles, and then that payday, he's probably not gonna see anywhere close to the money that he was looking to get at. So I mean, especially he's probably not gonna be signed, or he's not gonna be available for a team until like late November, maybe early December. So I mean, there's there's a risk, and that's why all players they want that guaranteed money. So I don't blame Shaq Barrett if he would feel some type of way. I don't think he would hold out, but I definitely know he wouldn't be happy about it. But in the longevity, if he gets
That
to
man's
secure that
word
bag,
was he wants to break the bank. That doesn't
yes,
It's
he
all
sound
does.
like he's
gentlemen.
taking any discounts.
Let's check it out, gentlemen. We're gonna get to this when we get to
Yeah, we'll get to
yours.
that
I'm
when that
just,
point. Yeah.
I just want to give you a
I
full
have
warning, Vic.
look.
That's it.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
It's before we
I
get
mean,
to the Bucks episode because they pick at 32.
yeah, it's a long ways from
This will already have happened, and it'll be a different
Yeah.
conversation. It'll be actually be a headline. Shaq Barrett signs with insert team.
I just want to say one thing real quick.
Sure,
Um,
go ahead.
like with every team in the NFL right now, this is a
Mhm.
great year to have those kind of problems just because of the amount of free agents. I literally before the show today, I was going through the whole entire free agency, like seeing position by position. There are so many linebackers. There are so many defensive linemen, cornerbacks,
Dolphins just
receivers,
cut Papa and
offensive.
Noe. So that's an
See,
option for somebody. Which he was
it is
productive last season, but I get it. That contract was ridiculous when he got signed to it to begin
Yep.
with. So I get why they cut him. It could be a thing where they cut him and bring him back for cheaper
Could be.
if he doesn't get picked up. I could also see him go back to New England, but that's a different topic for something else too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but that's another option out there for somebody looking for a pass rusher.
But just that's all I'm gonna say right now is expect this year to be the year of 1 year
lot of
deals.
news.
1 year, maybe 2 year deals at the very minimum, at the very max, just because of the new CBA deal. And just a reminder to everybody that I think we kind of forgot about this too. But this year, there's going to be 17 NFL games played compared to 16 because of the new CBA deal. So we have an extra game to take into account compared to the previous year where we had 16. So, yeah. But with that being said, going on to the next topic, talking about the Miami Dolphins.